Here we are with the first real session of Chains, a Wraith 2nd edition story. In the last session, our two players came face to face with the realization that they were no longer among the living, and the war that they had been fighting in Korea had perhaps ended long, long ago, with them trapped in a repeating cycle of their own demise. But now they have been set free and are operating with a small group of renegades against the local forces of the Jade Emperor in its endless, hungry attempt to snatch up the weak souls of the recently departed and forge them into Jade trade goods. Gentlemen, could you do a refresher for the audience on who you are playing?
I am playing Graham Harris, an army guy from New Zealand, but old New Zealand, not New Zealand, modern New Zealand. He was the tank gun operator, and he's a bit moody and tries to not stand out much. But now that he's a ghost, he can't help it. Whenever you pause, I feel like I need to give more detail.
I was just waiting to turn my mic on, or, waiting for you to finish.
His strength is 4, dexterity 3, stamina 3.
Apparently he's prone to gibberish in the street then, describing himself numerically.
Well, he has been a part of some horrible atrocities on both ends of the gunfire there.
Mm-hmm.
And I am playing Abel the Forest. I was the sort of hapless driver of the tank that my friend Graham and I were in when we passed, and that we're still in now, that we're at where we're at now. And Abel was in his life. He unfortunately grew to be no older than the age of 20, the ripe old age of 20. He's sort of a tall and slender young man with red hair and freckles. Well, he was. However, now he's sort of morphed into a horrific, sort of twisted, deformed mush of a man, as he's recounted day after day, his final moments passing. But still, I drive this tank.
You are overlooking what you were told is the city of Seoul, but mostly what you can see is the necropolis of Seoul. The outlines of the city, according to the renegades that you have met, constantly blur and change and shift as the living population in the Skinlands has very little ability or desire to maintain its historical sites, other than the great palaces of centuries past. The city is built, torn down, rebuilt, torn down constantly, like a serpent shedding its skin over and over and over again, which to wraithly eyes lends the city a soft focus, a blur. Details are hard to perceive. That said, the great historical sites, the 4 gates governing the cardinal points of access into the city, the bridges which span the river, the large sprawling palaces of the noble families, these stand out in stark relief and have been repurposed by the dead into the bastions of the necropolis, which is Seoul. It is from these places that the Jade Emperor, with his Korean associates who have sworn their allegiance to him operate the ongoing business of the underworld and ensure that a swift trade in souls is maintained. What has brought the group to Seoul is the recognition that the National History Museum, the display showing the Korean War, has had as the centerpiece of its display for quite some time the remnants of your tank. This was a safe place for the last few physical remains, but unfortunately, a member of your own band has fallen to the other side, has been consumed by his own shadow and joined ranks with the Specters. Knowing what he knows, one of the first things he's trying to do is destroy the effectiveness of your band so that you will be smashed between the forces of the Jade Emperor and the forces of Oblivion. It is hoped that this powerful relic, this powerful haunt, this tank that you have can be saved. As you look out over the city, you are but a few blocks away from the museum. You have come through a large park, preserve. You have passed by what in the Skinlands is the home of South Korea's president, and you're looking down on the jade walls of the Shadowlands version of Gyeongbok Palace. A large, square, maze-like corridor of long, raised rooms of a single story. You two are alone.
Graham is taking in the sights, not really enjoying them. Abel, I can never get used to how strange this place looks, how different everything is.
This city is strange. I don't know if it's my eyes, but nothing's in focus. It seems as though nothing here lasts for long. Well, of course we know that nothing ever does, but it seems as though things are even more temporary here. Other than, of course, that palace. Doesn't look like it's been touched or changed in hundreds of years.
That place, is it somewhere important in the living world?
I can't
According
remember.
to your allies, it is the focal point of Korea's past. It was the seat of power for 600 years before the Japanese persuaded their way into the seats of power and then openly took over the country. And then, of course, after the war, the country fell into externally motivated internal bickering. But after securing its freedom, one of the first things to be rebuilt was this palace. It's lit now, in your view, with a sick green flame as torches all along its external walls and as patrols of the Emperor's guards march, keeping things secure. The green flame, you now know to be the result of weak souls tempered into what can only be described as candles and torches, are set ablaze to slowly burn away.
It's disgusting. Those what were people?
Where you are in the hills, in the Skinlands, you vaguely remember to be stone, like granite, glittering a grayish white in the sunlight over the peninsula. But of course here, it's dark and hissing with the cracks that take it to other places. Cracks that lead down into the Tempests, the home of the Specters. Specters which you've had to face in the past. Specters who have carried off many of your companions.
How convenient it seems as though the seat of power is also in very close proximity, if not sitting on top of one of these cracks, these tunnels which lead safely, well, as safely as the inhabitants wish you to believe, through the Tempest. I don't want to be here, but you know as well as I do that if our former ally were to share the information with them, that they will find us. Either way, they will know our tactics.
We cannot let him try to destroy that. Yeah, and we cannot let him get a hold of the tank. Alright. I guess we should head in.
Down below, where the gates of the palace in the Skinlands and the gates of the palace in the Shadowlands merge uncomfortably. Graham is quite aware that his son is approaching. This is a young man whose path has been crossed several times in the past by the two of you. Most notably, his chanting finally waking you from the endless repetition of your own deaths. It would seem he too is heading into the museum. The museum is a large multi-story pagoda rising up to rival the mountain which stands behind the low, sprawling palace.
I have to walk after him as I almost instinctively sort of rush into the building, no longer cautious or content to wait around.
The descent from the hill behind the palace is quite treacherous for mortals. for the two of you, merely inconvenient. But in Graham's haste, he exposes you to danger from attack by whatever might be waiting out here with you.
I see this sort of strange look come over my friend's face, and as his aura intensens a bit with slightly more of a harsh glow, I know that he must do what he must do, but I'm not going to let him go alone, so I follow him, of course.
All right. Now, Graham is quite distracted, as he has described, not cautious. Abel, your descent, what are you doing?
I'm quite a bit concerned, but mostly for my friend. I know that this may put us in the way of some external stimuli, but at the moment my main concern is keeping my eye on my friend to make sure that he's not blindsided.
All right. That being the case, we will represent your alertness classically with perception plus alertness. The difficulty set by the circumstances you've just described is 7. Abel, you receive enough warning due to your attunement to the Tempest via your knowledge of Argos that something is going to rise up in front of Graham. He's heading right toward a narrow nigh hill, and he's unaware of it, but something is waiting within it, which is making its way into the Shadowlands from below.
Graham! I cry out sharply, hoping that it'll be enough to snap him out of his daze, as it were. I'm certainly not close enough to grab him.
What is it?
Don't move. If anything, step back this way.
I look in the other direction. What? I don't.
Look, in the cracks.
Rising up out of the nigh hill, there are 3 specters, hungry, mouths hanging down, blacker than can even be described, hissing with cold and vibrating with the sense of stolen memory. They want to consume what you are. That's what they do.
Graham's now stepping back. Shit. And then quickly turns into a run towards Abel.
Initiative, please, gentlemen. Wits plus alertness. Difficulty is 6.
Yep, 3 successes.
In a daylit, normal environment for combat, such as a city street, the difficulty would normally be 4. This is not that.
I run almost closer to Abel.
I resist the urge to run away at the horrific sight of these things and brace myself as my friend approaches, and then sort of slowly back up, keeping my eyes locked with theirs. Although I'm not sure if that sort of thing works with these inhuman creatures.
When I get to Abel, I wasn't necessarily running from these creatures like I'm terrified of them. But fighting 3 against 1 on close combat, I would not take those odds.
As you discuss, as you look around as you hesitate, looking at each other. They gain their bearings and begin to move forward. One of them pauses, turns the upper portion of its body strangely, as if it has not even the vaguest memory of what it would be like to have a skeleton. Opens its extended jaw and screams. A high, keening scream, which Abel knows is penetrating deep into the tempest, calling more of its kind.
We need to get out of here fast. It's an alarm, a siren. It's gonna bring in more.
And where do you suppose we run? Just run to the tank?
Yes, we've got to get back to it. It's not far from here, but if the
But it
forces
is
of the
up and over a mountain.
if the forces of the Emperor get a hold of it, it's not going to be good for the rest of the resistance. Even if we die here.
Do you really think we can get to it in time? Maybe we could lose them in the city.
You could get to it in time, but it would be faster if you threw him to them. You're better off on your own anyways.
That's not true.
The time that you need,
No.
you could hide more efficiently on your own.
Abel, what do you want to do?
I just want to go away from here. Anywhere is good. I'd sooner run into the open arms of the Emperor to be forged into someone's undergarment rather than be ripped apart by these things.
Lose them in the city? Go to the tank. Just quickly, we don't have much time. Gaining on us.
Whining, Abel. Listen to him. We can fly. We don't have to be caught here. He wants to be caught. He's delaying. He's holding us back. Push him in.
What's wrong, man? Come on, let's go. I'll sort of step forward and try to not really pull you or shake you hard, but perhaps jolt your body a little bit to snap you out of whatever daydream or deep thoughts you're in.
All right. All right, come on. Just. All right,
Specters form together into almost a shield wall, slowly advancing towards you, picking up speed, like footballers.
Opposite direction sounds good. I turn and run the opposite direction.
And as my friend turns and runs, I sort of instinctually grab his wrist in his hand and lead him, for just in case I should have the need to activate my ability to transport ourselves through this tempest should a crack open up and suck us into it.
Come on, come on! I say, pulling my friend along.
Dex plus athletics, gentlemen, in the darkness. Rough terrain. Being pursued, difficulty 6.
That's 4.
I've been rolling good for it, so I'm just waiting for the shit to hit the fan.
You are not pulling ahead of them as you claw and climb and scratch your way up toward the top of the mountain, trying to avoid the hissing cracks of the nigh hills. Their pursuit, although more reckless, is just due to their weight and their discomfort with this form. Just that little bit too slow to close the distance. You're nearing the peak, but you remember at the peak was a much larger crack hissing down into the tempest.
Oh, right. That's why we ran away from there. Okay, quickly head down. We can use some of the foliage as cover. We don't need to hide from them per se. We just need to go down in a different angle.
We could... Perhaps we could go through the tempest and hope to expedite the process and perhaps lose them in it. Of course, there's a chance that we could meet someone else in there, and they've already summoned more of them like us. I don't know how long we could keep going on like this.
I can't go for it like you can. How dangerous is it?
Oh, quite dangerous indeed, although it's more of a free-for-all, I'm sure. Perhaps they'll exhibit some hesitation. I don't know.
The tempest is their home. Yeah, let's go, Abel. Let's see how tough you really are.
I say we run downwards. So the gating line is up there. If we can run that way, we should be able to get to.
Yeah, let's just scale the side of this mountain. We'll go up and down as we need, hopefully avoiding all cracks and losing them in the process. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more at any point, though.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Come on.
You try, but they stay within sight, following you up and over and around obstacles. And then ahead of you, you see two more.
See?
Abel doesn't see them.
Get away.
Abel doesn't see them.
Nope.
Alright, but
Look, he doesn't even see them. You could just trip him now. They'll fall upon him, giving you enough time to escape, get back to the tank. And
Abel! Shut up! Abel, wait, stop!
what?
What do you mean, what? Run, we have to go that way now.
Oh my god! These things are everywhere.
Take him, and I sort of like just fling grab his arm and like fling him down like the other way, so he'll like stumble a bit, then start running, and then I start running. All right.
Graham's interference with your flight, Abel, has caused you to reassess what's around, and you're not really sure how you could have missed them. But there were two specters lying in wait who are now trying to close in on your trail as well.
Poor Abel. Completely useless. They're so obviously there.
You head back down the hill again, with them now pulling in behind you. You're getting closer and closer to the black, stained jade walls of the palace. Normally they would be a creamy jade color, but the smoke from the watchfires and torches stains them black.
Okay. So, let's go around this building. Well, yeah, of course, we're not going to go through it.
Well, we can't just run into those guards either.
Yeah.
The specters are now repeating fragments of what you said, kind of without sense, but partially with sense. Just run, run, and it echoes all around you.
If we're not the only ones who can hear that, the attention of the guards is going to be brought here. Alright. Run around this building and let's run further into the city. Might be able to lose them that way.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll probably have the attention of the guards by then, if anything else.
Maybe that'll be their problem.
Following the natural slope of the terrain, you make your way closer and closer to Kyungbok Palace. Its huge walls ahead. Its patrols up above, all lit by the vile green flame. The closer you get to the walls, the more likely you are to meet patrols. Patrols that have those horrible, moliated souls turned into creatures, barghests, that hunt hungrily, almost specters themselves in their ferocity. You met them the night you were freed from your calls. But luck might be on your side. You might avoid them, and they might fall on the specters on your trail. Getting into the city puts you into a maze of twisting streets. Escape would be easier there.
Yeah, and that's where we're heading.
I don't care who we run into in this city, it'll be better than those things.
With any luck, they'll fight the guards.
With any luck.
Any amount of luck will do. Just a little bit.
Intelligence combined with athletics. Difficulty
Ooh,
7.
I like that combination.
Yeah, that's a fun roll, huh?
Ah, I wish that 9 was on the right.
Well, I sense a little bit of disagreement. As you reach the wall, you apparently have slipped under the attention of the guards. And you have the option to go left around the much smaller wall of the National Museum, or pass between the two where the walls meet, between the museum and the palace.
Graham has no time to consider the decision, so he just goes with the first one.
You've separated a little bit, one wanting to go one way, one wanting to go the other.
It seems to make the most sense to me to go along the smaller wall. It seems as though that'll not trap us in quite as much. However, I see my friend already taking off the other way, and I'm certainly not gonna split up from him, so I head off after him.
Okay. The sounds of the specters seem to recede into the distance. And you make your way forward around the back of the museum. Now, according to the plan, of course, you were supposed to be figuring out a way to penetrate into the museum. Somewhere inside, Graham, your son, is moving. It would be possible to spy on him as he goes about his business in there, of course. Just from where you stand, just a moment's concentration would be all it takes.
I would do that. That's actually I will. I'm gonna do something much sillier, but I would try to see him.
All right. Now, Abel Graham has slowed to a stop.
Yes,
Distracted again, his eyes elsewhere.
I can almost sense I can sense that it has something to do with his ties to this world through what I've learned, the disciplines that these other more experienced wraiths have taught me. And so I understand that it's of great importance to him, so I don't bother to say anything or try to shake him out of it. However, I will sort of pick up my pace to a light jog and jog around him on the other side so that I will be ready to go and leading the way once he's observed what he needs to observe.
You see Graham reach out for something, and sort of like in a trance.
Graham, this is Charisma plus Life Web. Difficulty is 8.
Okay. So that's 1.
That's 1 success. Okay. This also drains you emotionally. This is also something that Abel can sense as the emotion, this tie that binds Graham to his fetters. Could you describe this emotion to us?
This emotion of...
What ties you to your son?
What ties into his son is not a typical years of watching him grown up and growing attached to him. In fact, this is the absence of that, the regret of not having that, and also the curiosity of what kind of man he is now, who he is. And last but not least, a desire to be a part of his life, make up for leaving him, not being there for dying so long ago.
The sound of heavy, booted, marching feet in step is coming clearer. Guards are coming both directions, ahead and behind. You cannot yet see them, but you can hear them. In the darkness of the hills behind the museum, behind the palace, specters prowl. Ahead of you, the city streets. Between them and you, guards. A low wall, just barely the size or height of a man, is next to you. The palace walls tower several stories.
Wow. Then Abel could throw on his friend like an idiot, or he can do a smart thing and run.
I'll hoist myself up very slowly and cautiously, sort of get on my tippy toes at first, and then hoist myself up over this ghostly wall, and sort of land on the other side if there's no one there, but sort of shimmy my way up to the top.
There's no one on the other side of the wall, and it's not wide enough for there to be guard posts on the wall. From what you know, the guards are posted at the entrances and exits of the building, but not the wall itself.
Psst, Graham! Come on.
What?
Let's go. We'll come back if we can. I'm sure it will.
Help me out.
Graham, you were just beginning to get a sense inside the museum, in the Skinlands. You had a quick flash of your boy carefully unrolling a very colorful blanket. On the blanket, a set of large scissors, a large knife, a rattle. He was humming to himself, preparing himself. He had recently shaved his head. And he was just looking up, almost to make eye contact with your point of view, when Abel's voice shatters the vision.
Okay. Help me up onto that wall.
Of course, give him my hand and help him up, as I could see, sort of, he's filled with much regret, but also perhaps a shard of hope. Perhaps a bit more hope than I've seen on him for a long time.
Leave him for the Specters.
Come on, I need... As Graham manages to put one foot up on the wall. Alright, come on.
The two of you get over the wall and are inside the compound. There's a sense of children's laughter, games on a summer afternoon. Young boys, young girls with slender sticks chasing wheels around and around and around. Games of dexterity, games of chance. But then that moment passes. The museum itself is layer after decreasingly sized layer, a pagoda, curled corners to its square roof, ascending up into the hungry sky. On each corner blazes a green torch, almost like banners, but instead of hanging down, they drift up, not illuminating much, but casting deeper shadows. Just under the sense of hearing is the thin scream that comes from this type of illumination. A large entryway in the side of the pagoda and another that you can barely see the bottom steps of from the front of the pagoda are heavily watched by the Emperor's heavily armored foot soldiers. The back entrance, the smaller entrance, guarded by a single individual.
What do you think? Get past him?
Well, it's our only hope. I mean, at some point we're going to have to deal with somebody. I'd certainly rather deal with one guard than a whole squadron of them, or one guard than one Specter.
Alright.
I'll sort of shimmy along this wall, sticking as close to the shadows as I can.
I'll follow suit, assuming that he knows what he's doing.
This is an open courtyard. Your ability to be stealthy is less dependent on your actual dexterity as it is on your clever use of terrain. Wits plus stealth. Very little to hide behind. Difficulty 7.
It's not horrible.
That's right. One success is not horrible.
Well,
Just be thankful we're not playing first edition.
50% of my dice were good.
So, no sounds that you make trigger your own awareness. You don't step on anything. You don't trip over anything, brush against anything, set something loose which rattles across the stone. You move your way as silently as possible across the black, stained jade stones of the courtyard. No nihils here. No sense of proximity to the tempest. This is a fortress of memory. A museum built by the dead to remind the dead of past glories but twisted in some way to show its eternal, required allegiance to the Jade Emperor. As you're nearing along the wall in its shadow, as you're nearing the back entrance guarded by a single guard, that guard turns and enters the building.
Come on. I stand up and like walk up to the door.
It's a shadowed archway, and ahead of you, you can see the small green flame of his torch receding into the base of the museum.
Come on.
Yeah, let's go. I'm sure that someone else is going to be here in a minute.
I navigate down the corridor.
Penetrating the building, the narrow hallway enters into a large central open space, ringed by stairs going to different levels high up into the pagoda or down deep into its basements. Inside, in the center of this large open area, there's a small congregation of steel-masked wraiths, dressed very differently from those you see day to day here in Korea. And perhaps the rumors that a contingent from the West having arrived is true. Down below, what you are seeing is the meeting of high officials of this nation with high officials of another. Bodyguards are present with the representatives. No guards on this upper level that you have entered, looking down into the central chamber.
I get down and I crawl slightly along the floor and I attempt to make out what's been said.
Their words echo, which makes them difficult to hear. But it's more of an argument than a diplomatic discussion.
I follow suit, keeping close to the ground, and as I do, I pull out one of my cigarettes that is always there, and I sort of put it in my mouth, shaking. I, of course, don't light it, but I do so simply as a bit of a stress reliever, if possible.
Hear that? They're fighting over something.
I can't believe it's true. I thought that it was just a rumor or some.
We don't know if they're actually from the West.
Well, they're obviously not from here.
You don't know that.
Each wraith wears a steel mask over their face, each marked with a badge of office. What those badges are, you have not been taught. The argument seems to be keep circling the issue of numbers. How is it that so few are reported each year? How can it be that so few are repatriated? It would seem that the argument is about beings like you.
Yeah, that Abel. It's like the guys in Mars have an interest in how many of us the Emperor captures. What is he? The catching fewer?
Well, that may be good or it may be bad. Maybe bad if that means that there's fewer overall. But should come as no surprise. People are people, no matter if they're alive or dead. And I suppose no matter who you are, if you're in power, those hundreds and thousands underneath you cannot be anything other than numbers to you.
I get the sense of what you mean.
Well,
But we don't really care, right? Whatever they're talking about.
well, I suppose I care. It seems as though it would be something that would affect us, although I don't know what we can do about it.
It's not what we're here for, and if they're all here arguing, we might be able to navigate this place easier.
Do you think it's safer to...
Hear that?
That familiar sound? From high up in the museum. The sound of that rattle.
Come on. I think we need to go up the stairs.
Yeah, you're right. It seems like it would be safest to do this while they're in here. I'm sure most of the guards are concerned about keeping this private.
The elaborate dress of the local officials is no less and no more intimidating than that of the foreign officials. And as you creep around toward the first ascending staircase, their argument slowly dances along the edge of becoming heated, becoming aggressive, and remaining its cool, detached sound. These beings clearly respect but do not like each other. They have a habit of disagreeing. They've been having this argument for a very long time. When you get up to the next level, it is a display of ancient warfare. The Korean War will be higher up.
Okay, come. Let's even further. Let's not stop now.
Yeah, this place has so much history. No wonder it's so important. Even if it wasn't for the Emperor, I'm sure that this would hold great importance for whoever would be in control.
As you reach the next level, what greets your eyes is artwork that you are certain exists both here in the Shadowlands and there in the Skinlands. It's a view very familiar to both of you. Looking northward into what is now North Korea from a tank emplacement. And the simple emotion of a soldier's duty swells around you, bolstering you, sustaining you, and you can ride that wave of emotion and perhaps capture some of it to sustain yourself, to reinforce your sense of identity.
I approach the image.
I'm overcome with a sense of anger, a sense of a bit righteous anger, at least in my mind, that the people of this country, at least the dead people of this country, I don't know the state of the living world anymore, but that they're beholden to a ruler and an emperor that's not even of their own, fills me with anger as I follow Graham.
In life I never like such things, but it's a striking painting.
It could almost have been taken by one of you. So close is it to where you were stationed. Far off down the end of the hallway, that rhythmic tapping, that rattle continues. And you feel that strange double connected feel you have when you're in the proximity of your tank and its physical remains.
I think this is where they keep a record of us. Perhaps. Maybe we're even on display. Well, by us I mean, of course, our tank, our regiment.
Abel is not wrong. Around you stand mannequins, visible through the shroud, pictures, artifacts, uniforms on partial mannequins, descriptions of insignia, and you're surrounded by the sense, the memory, the smell of service, of duty.
Come on.
What I would like you both to do is think about the passions which support and underpin your character. Think about the emotions connected to those passions.
Mm-hmm.
Prepare a pool of dice based on those passions and describe what is happening as your character comes face to face with a visible memorial to what they did, or at least tried to do. The number of successes you generate on the roll, and the difficulty in this case will be 5. The number of successes you generate will indicate the amount of pathos you siphon from this scene. But more importantly, the scene will indicate to the character where they stand.
Graham sees this memorial to the soldiers who defended that spot, defended the hill, and he remembers his orders quite clearly, and to defend that spot. He remembers how heroic he thought his father must have been, having fought in the war, and he thinks about how embiggened his spirit was having that purpose, and how ultimately they failed.
Likewise, I sort of I remember not only our final days and weeks and months, but also the things that Abel never got to do, having died not only so young, but of course going in to the forces so young, all the things that I had always thought about or perhaps planned or desired, which were never fulfilled. And although I'm filled with righteous anger and I feel empowered, I feel as though I should help the people of this land, even though it's not my homeland. I'm at this moment more overcome with a sense of loss and utter hopelessness, at least for myself personally.
At the end of the hall, the young man with the shaved head, he's quickly packing up his things as if to make a hasty retreat from this place.
Where's where's he going? I check on him.
He seems healthy, although like all mortals, he carries with him a cloud of his own mortality. Well dressed, fit. Doesn't look much like Graham. He reaches the stairs, he pauses a moment. He looks through where you are standing. And then begins to descend.
Wait.
You know him?
I think so. But I've never met him before.
That's probably for the best. The only favor you ever did anyone was choosing to disengage from their life. You're not good for anyone, Mr. Harris.
No.
No one except yourself, perhaps. But even that remains to be seen.
From below comes a scream. A scream not in this world, but in the world of the living.
Was that Abel? Was that a man or a woman screaming?
I don't know. I want to go check it out, but I feel like that'll be the reaction of everyone. If we heard it, I'm sure that others did as well.
Why not take a peek? Look down while still having room to retreat up the stairs.
Sure, we'll see what we can see.
Graham, you feel a disturbance deep inside. And you know, before looking, that something has happened to your son.
Well, then I disregard what I just said and I'd run down.
Graham cautiously creeps forward and then throws caution to the wind and out into the stairwell.
Eat caution, wind.
A second cry is heard, which is abruptly cut off. As you descend into the staircase, Graham, you see the body of your boy, heels up, head down, face down, as though he had been tripped on the stairs. And standing with its foot, or so we'll describe it, pressed down firmly on the back of what was his healthy neck, is a grinning, eyeless creature, a specter, long claws, one slit down its face, one slash for a mouth, leering up at you.
How dare you! as I descend further down the steps, and I think it's time for some outrage.
Abel, you feel the cold wash of the tempest as Graham takes one step down the stairs toward his boy and then is pulled from your sight.
I'll throw the weight of my body down and hope that my feet can reach the ground fast enough as I take off after him, not knowing exactly where it'll lead.
You rush down the stairs, but Graham has never descended the stairs. You reach the body. The vile trace of the Specter remains, but it has departed. Graham has departed. The soul of his boy has departed.
I look around for any cracks leading into the tempest for which I can peer through and see.
Oh, you're all alone. What are you gonna do now?
Shut up, he's right here. I'll find him.
No, you won't. Can't do anything.
Listen, I got us this far, okay? That wasn't easy. I'm not gonna just... I lost him going down a flight of stairs, okay? I can find him.
Don't come crying to me when you fail miserably.
So I look back up the staircase and around where I am and see if there's any cracks leading into the tempest.
It's the same staircase that you descended.
I look around, not seeing or hearing anyone else, and I touch as much as I can the body of his son and see
You
if
imagine it would feel warm if you could touch it.
I hope that by touching it I'll feel perhaps some inkling of a connection towards Graham or where he might be, since I know that his son himself appeared to be one of his fetters, one of his connections, but I feel nothing.
Nothing. Nothing left but meat. Graham. You are on a sunlit street in your hometown in New Zealand. Distantly you can hear bright music playing. It's a town band celebrating soldiers about to go off to war and those who've come back. It's a great day. It's a Memorial Day. Young, bright-looking men in their perfectly pressed, clean uniforms are walking in every direction. Kids are running with balloons and streamers and toys. The whole town is turned out to honor its fighting men, to honor the women who've had to stay behind but who have worked as hard, if not harder, sacrificing, scrimping, saving, making it work. Walking next to you, well, it's been so long since you've seen her. But unlike everyone else, she doesn't look happy. She's wondering why. You just can't be around.
Graham looks around his hometown, which is a place called Bulls, which is a real place, and look, all the I look at all the tacky sort of bull puns, and I look at this woman. Her unhappiness makes me so distressed.
Is this what you do? In all your free time alone, you wander the streets and window shop?
No. No, that's not what I do.
You said that you wanted to build a family with me. Graham. Don't you still want to? Or would you rather go get drunk with your mates? Again. Sure, you'd rather gamble away the money rather than spend it on things anyways.
It's not true, I never gambled.
It's not, oh, well, did you just drink it away then? What happened? What happened to all the money? The savings that we had?
My fault, I'm the only one earning money. Here. You think I work from 8 till 5 every day for?
Oh. I would be raising a family if we had one by now, like you promised. Look, I can see that you want to hit me. I can see it on your face.
You were lucky I don't.
I should have done what my father said and married the boy down the street. You're not good for anyone, Graham.
Shut up.
Probably don't want to be a father just because you never had a father.
Shut up! And Graham does hit this line.
At that moment, a little boy runs up just as the sound of flesh striking flesh echoes across the street like a gunshot. He's saying, "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy, who's this man?" He somehow seems to have missed the fact that this man has just slapped his mother across the face. He has no idea who this man is.
I look at the kid in disbelief, and I look to the woman in shame.
Your handprint is across her face.
See? Is this what you wanted? You don't need to worry about who he is. He's not going to be someone that's important to you, son. No one that you'll ever have to deal with.
Oh. No.
Mommy, can I go and play? I'm tired of the boring man.
Yes, yes. Go ahead. Go on. She says as she sort of brings herself up off the ground.
Without a second look, the boy runs off in the direction of the other boys to play. He's probably already forgotten who you are.
No. I scream out for him, and I'm to get him.
She slaps you in the mouth immediately. You're better off doing nothing than trying to be involved at this point.
Oh. Why are you doing this?
Why am I doing this? I'm a 19-year-old girl that you got pregnant, and now I want you to support us. That's why I'm doing this.
I can't.
I can't go back to my father.
Really handsome looking man dressed as a shopkeeper walks by, gives that little secret wink to her, ignoring you, and just keeps going on his way.
I look at him, understanding, and I look back at her. Well, you moved on fast, didn't you? I bet my body wasn't even cold yet.
What are you talking about?
You know what I'm talking about. Graham shakes his woman. Caroline is her name, he seems to recall.
Don't touch me like that. Maybe I would
Another
be
gent.
better off.
This one with flowers stops, reconsiders, and goes in a different direction.
I think I would be better off with someone else.
Go then.
So easy for you to stop caring.
On that line, so easy for you to stop caring. The street is empty. Just Graham. All around are posters of the brave boys who went off to fight. Lists of names. And as the color drains completely out of the world, Graham cannot help but note that his name is not among them. Abel, meanwhile, is back in the stairwell, alone, with a very rowdy sense in the back of his mind that trouble is brewing.
Did you find him yet? Did you? Is Adam there? Oh, you said you could, but you couldn't.
Shut up. Listen, if you don't have anything positive to say, and you rarely do, shut the hell up, okay? Yes, I'm sure this is all some game to you, right?
Watching you
Twisted game.
fail is always funny.
Well, listen, it's not going to be funny. If they catch him, they'll probably catch us. And if I'm turned into something, well, what do you think you're going to be? Huh?
Are you asking me for help?
Do you have help to offer?
Yes.
Well, you've never offered it before.
You've never asked. Just tell me what you need. I can help you realize your true potential, and you won't have to muddle around at this low level that you're currently doing. You could actually do something great.
Do something great? What do you think I'm trying to do here? I'm trying to liberate these people from an emperor that's not theirs, a tyrant. If that's not great, then what is? Listen, we can argue philosophy later. Right now, for the sake of both of us, we need to find Graham. Okay, this isn't good. We need to find out what happened to him, and we need to get to him.
Well, of course. I could tell you. But what are you going to do for me?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if there's anything around here that you necessarily want. I mean, I'm sure those guards, once they lay their hands on us, you're not going to be happy with that. And I don't think those specters are really anyone to be tussled with either.
There's a sound from back in the Korean museum. Almost like an indrawn breath. And again, that cold flicker of the tempest as it disgorges something into the Shadowlands.
I sort of stand back. Sweat would certainly be forming on my brow. Would I still be alive?
Graham, you're back somehow. Next to the broken armor fragments of the front end of the tank. You can just see the double L logos of the Lauren Bacall.
Where? Abel? Where am I? Back here. Okay. Abel.
I head towards his voice, assuming that I can hear it.
See? I'm coming back for you.
You hear it. Probably.
I'll take one last look at the body of his son before heading off that direction, quite briskly indeed. I'll respond once, Graham, so that he knows that I'm on the way.
Graham stands up. Oh, what the fuck was that?
He's almost steaming.
What happened to you? Where'd you go?
I went home.
Did you do that on purpose?
No! I
Was it?
was going to attack the Specter because my son. Is he okay?
Don't. I grab Graham and I stop him. He's, well, you can look if you must, but he's not. Unfortunately, that part was not a vision.
What? No. I brush Abel aside and I run again, throwing caution to the wind again, this time harder, and I run down those steps. I run to the body.
Just a body.
No. I attempt to nudge, to ping, to nudge him.
You distantly feel the pressure of the fabric on his body. But you know that he won't be responding to it.
No.
See? Do you think it's some coincidence that he meets this fate right after you see him again? I think not. I'm glad that we resolve this
Shut
loose
up.
end.
Shut it.
You're better off for it. You're stronger.
Shut your goddamn mouth.
Oh, what, now you're gonna start to regret things? It's a little late for that, don't you think?
You did this.
I did this. No. You did this.
No. I can't.
I tried to stop it. And I can stop more of this in the future. If you listen to me.
From the back of the hallway is a very strong and very cold voice asking a question. Are these two the only ones? Behind you there are guards. There are officials of the Jade Emperor. There are men waiting with manacles. And there's one from the foreign contingent, his dark steel mask glistening in the green torchlight, who says, "Those are the two we agreed on."
Alright.
We will leave you the relic. You have broken the back of the renegade unit, and these two and any further that you uncover for the next year will be ours. The ornate head of the Jade Emperor official bows.
What? Of course, Abel's on his knees at this point, as I assume Graham is as well. I don't lift my head up, but I do raise my voice a bit. What? You mean our tank?
You gotta run. I'm gonna kill you. Or worse.
We will fade to black here.